Hey, what's happening, guys? So to seemingly everyone's dismay, Ange Postecoglou looks favourite to become Tottenham's new head coach following an unsuccessful pursuit of Feyenoord's Arnie slot. While he's played down the links in the media, that's more to do with the fact that Celtic have the opportunity to clinch the treble later today, and less about him not wanting the job, which I do believe he'll get now. A lot of you might be sat there thinking that this man's achievements in the Scottish Premier League mean fuck all, because even your nan could win silverware in charge of Celtic. But the situation is slightly more nuanced than that. Much like Tottenham, Celtic were a complete and utter mess when he took over, yet he's implemented a style of play with inverted fullbacks and incessant pressing, which has created excitement amongst the fan base, while also leaving Rangers in the dust, a side who finished a staggering 25 points ahead of Celtic prior to the Australians' arrival. Furthermore, we've all seen what's happened in recent times when managers with glittering CVs have taken the hot seat in North London, so perhaps a move towards a coach whose modus operandi is having the opposition worry about his team rather than the other way around from a tactical standpoint is the need of the hour. He's got a clear philosophy of fast, aggressive and attacking football in a 4-3-3 formation, which is the polar opposite of Nuno really, an appointment that this is wrongly earning comparisons to. Rather curiously, Spurs also tend to do well when the bloke coming in isn't first choice, whether it be Martin Jol, Harry Redknapp or Mauricio Pochettino. All these men were largely afterthoughts, and one can only hope this inexplicable trend continues, particularly when you take into account Eddie Howe was actually Celtic's first choice in 2021 too, and fans were disillusioned by Postecoglou coming in, only to worship the ground he walks on now. Needless to say, winning the A-League Championship with Brisbane Roar, guiding Yokohama Marinos to their first J-League title in 15 years, and taking Australia to the 2014 World Cup, while also lifting their first ever AFC Asian Cup a year later, isn't exactly going to have the Spurs faithful doing cartwheels in their living room, even if they are impressive achievements in their own right, and that lack of experience in any of Europe's Big Five leagues is most certainly a concerning aspect of his CV. That being said, the key reason behind much of Postecoglou's success around the globe boils down to the fact that he buys into everything a football club embodies, whether it be its history, fan base, or style of play. And he's mastered the art of getting everyone on the same page while working towards a specific goal, a bit like what Ten Hag's done at Man United this season, which is something Spurs are crying out for right now. If you want an idea of just how competitive Postecoglou is, I think the following quotes from the man himself showcase exactly what he's all about. It's easier in this part of the world to say, I love football and I want a career in it, and then there's a path for you. In Australia, every step you take you've got to earn. I've had to do that as a manager even more so. All along the way, I simply refused to yield to anybody or feel inferior to anybody just because I was born on the other side of the world. There was no one as passionate, I guarantee you, as when I was a kid about football. I was obsessed by it, and I've made it my life's journey to keep educating myself so I don't feel inferior when I keep getting put in different circumstances. I didn't feel like that at the World Cup, I didn't feel like that in Japan, and I certainly don't feel like that over here. I understand that my track record isn't up there with the best in the world, but I don't feel like that's representative of who I am. I will back myself against anyone. I'll back the football club against anybody, and it doesn't always mean I'll be successful, but from my perspective, I'm not going to go into any contest feeling inferior or like I'm trying to mitigate disaster. I'm going in there to make an impact. Aside from all the fighting talk, he's even caught the eyes of tacticians like Pep Guardiola, who stated the following after a preseason friendly against Yokohama in 2019. They played some incredible football and were a huge test for us. I knew how good they were because City and Yokohama have the same philosophy. Now, Pep has a tendency to heap praise on the opposition, even if he doesn't really believe what he's saying. But he wasn't the only one to wax lyrical about Postecoglou's setup. Raheem Sterling added, they're one of the best teams I've ever seen to play out from the back. And the stats showcase just that, as the Japanese side had 58% of possession, which is essentially unheard of when Pep is sat on the opposition bench. Regardless, there are some who bash Postecoglou's record in Europe and use it as evidence that he won't cut it in the Prem. But let's be real, finishing bottom of a group containing Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, and Shakhtar Donetsk was to be expected. Even if picking up just 2 points across 6 games might suggest otherwise, there was actually some promising performances in there, with 82 attempts on goal and the woodwork being struck on 3 separate occasions, which is the type of misfortune you can ill afford to have as an underdog in Europe, and thus doesn't paint a fair picture of what actually went down. Last but not least, an important thing to note about Postecoglou is that following preseason and the first few weeks of introducing his slides and methods to players, he delegates virtually every training session to his support staff, even if he does keep an eye on what's going on while constantly jotting down notes. From the outside looking in, that might be seen as slightly cold and distant, but players grow to appreciate it, as they know team selection is a meritocracy, and that he won't shy away from telling them exactly how he feels. Given he's managed Australia's under-17s and under-20s for 7 long years, Ange also has plenty of experience in dealing with and giving opportunities to young players, so watch this space. Overall, I'm not entirely sure how this appointment will go. On the one hand, I believe someone like a Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann or Spalletti would be a lot more exciting on paper, but on the other, Postecoglou is in the business of proving people wrong. So this could very well turn out to be a pleasant surprise. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.